So this lesson we're going to talk about hand position and how to hold the guitar. This is probably one of the most difficult things when you start out because it's a bit of an awkward instrument, the guitar. And especially if you're smaller, like if you're young and you're just starting, and it can be a bit confusing. So we'll talk a little bit about the guitar and how to hold it. So a lot of people hold the guitar into them and they hold it really tightly and then it falls and slips. If you look at how my guitar is balanced, it's kind of a 45-degree angle to my body. It's not going straight up to my left. It's kind of going a little bit in front. You'll also notice that it's kind of balancing without my arms. Not every guitar can do this. Gibson Gold Tops, for example, are really heavy at the back, so they'll swing down. So don't worry too much about that. But generally, your right arm, your right elbow, or the underside of your right arm should be kind of holding the guitar just gently in place. What you don't want to be doing is holding the guitar in balance with the left. Because if I'm gripping it or stopping it falling, how can I play? What we need is this hand to be free so that when we play, it kind of floats on the guitar rather than holding it up, okay? So the last thing with the neck is it wants to be sort of not just level but a little bit up. Maybe you'll see classical players are often like this, okay? This is because they want to keep their spine straight and their neck straight. So when they're playing, they might have a footstool or something like that. Bear in mind, if I was stood up with the guitar strap on, the guitar would probably be around this angle anyway. What happens when we play acoustic guitar and electric guitar, we put it on this leg sometimes, and then we twist our torso around and stoop. This is really bad if you're going to rack up hours on the guitar. Trust me. I did this and I got repetitive strain and then spent a long time correcting my posture, and that actually fixed a lot of my issues. So just try and think about, you know, if your back and your shoulders aren't straight and up and your neck is not straight, at some point that's not going to be good. All right. So, but generally everyone's going to be a little bit different, so you've got to sit how is comfortable for you. But if you find yourself doing this or this or this is not good. All right. So just try and remember that. Now then, when we're talking about holding where should the right hand go? This is one of the hardest things for plectrum holders, okay? What I tend to tell people is to put the guitar down flat. Hold the plectrum in your hand, like I said in the other video about holding the plectrum. And what I want you to do is imagine you're going to write your name on the guitar as if it's a table, really small, in really small handwriting. And you'll notice that your wrist and your forearm is on the guitar, okay? It's resting. You're not writing like this, you're not balancing. So if you were writing normally, you were writing some, I don't know, like an essay or whatever you want, signing something, you're resting on the guitar. Now what I want you to do is flip over the guitar and try and write your name again on the A string, okay? Now, if you look what's happened to my hand, if I turn my guitar up, my hand, is a kind of resting on this screw. And it's kind of this part of my hand here, the heel, I guess you'd call that. No, that's not a guess. That's what you call it, the heel of the hand, right? Is that it? No, yeah, that's a heel. So we're going to put it there. Now, when I play the E string, that's all good. When I try and get down to the high E string or the B string, I can't stretch. And what actually happens is your hand's going to glide down. So watch my right hand carefully. I play the E string, the A string, and as I do, each time I shift a fraction. So what that means is that by the time when we're on the high E string, my hand is actually on the other strings. This is really useful for controlling excess noise on the guitar. So if you watch, if I'm playing with, let's do the E minor pentatonic scale. And I'm going to do it with my palm on the guitar as I've just taught you. Okay? Now, if I do it freely, so my hand isn't on the guitar, the other strings continue to ring out and make noise. Watch. That's not what we want. So when we're playing, We want to be able to control the noise, right? Without this right hand, it's going to get all sorts of crazy things, especially if you're doing string bends. If I do it without, you get noises and strings ringing out as well. So when it comes to putting our right hand on the guitar, we want to be thinking about putting it just above the guitar and then playing the strings, and as we go down it slides as if there's an invisible rail. Okay, we also want to be picking around just behind this front pickup for now. There's lots of different variations for technique, but when the first electric guitars were created, there was only one pickup on most of them. Okay, and it was here, because this is kind of the sweet spot. All right, let's look at the left hand now. The left hand is much harder to think about because it can be in a number of different positions depending on the style you're playing. If you look at this beam on the back of my, or this line on the back of my guitar, I tend to think of that as a guideline. So my thumb wants to be there on the back of the guitar, pointing kind of up at the ceiling as if my thumbprint is going on the middle of the neck. And then what happens is my fingers spread out like that. All right? So this is really good for like legato. But when it, and sorry, single note playing and chords and things like that. But when it comes to string bends, then we have to play a different technique, and our thumb will often come over the top like this. And we'll deal with that another time. But for now, if you're starting out and you're looking at scales and chords, try and think about keeping your hand low, your thumb low, because what we don't want is this baseball bat grip, which stops our fingers moving. We kind of want to open our hand up. Imagine you're holding a bowl or a giant tennis ball or something, and our hand is open and round like that, so that all our fingers move. If we grip around the top and our thumb is too high up, especially if we've got small hands, then what happens is our fingers lie down flat, and that kind of creates a mess. Okay, so there's a couple of things to think about in terms of holding the guitar. You'll see that my guitar is still balanced and staying where it is. It's not falling around and moving as I play.